What's up guys, it's me, Straw Hat Nate, and I'm back with another One Piece chapter review. This week we got chapter 1107 of One Piece, titled I've Been Looking For You. So we're back after a break week with this chapter returning straight into the action where we just left off. We get a lot of an explanation of the great giant warrior pirates and them coming to Egghead Island in this chapter. And we also get back to see Zoro vs. Lucci again, which we haven't seen in a while, but it's only a little bit that we see. And we get to see more of Gear 5 in action against Saint Saturn too. And it's also a big chapter for Sanji, as he does some big things against Kizaru. And on top of that, we even end up with some grand reveals at the end of the chapter regarding the Blackbeard pirates and the fact that they are on Egghead Island, along with what their plans are going forward. And this chapter is really full of jumps from scene to scene, which is obviously Oda's style, as we know. But since there's so much to cover, I say we just get right into it after you like and subscribe to the channel. So, starting with the cover, we get to see Law and Beppo this week on just a fan request, and they're just in a snowy forest with a mountain backdrop, and Law is sleeping on top of a snow leopard while Beppo's in the background just confused. Not much to note there. Now let's jump into the actual chapter though. So the chapter starts out right where the last one ended, with the big arrival of the giants. We learn from the first page alone that it's not only Dory and Bragi on the island, they actually come with a whole group of giants from Elbaf. Notably, Oimo and Kashi are among these giants, and these are the guys from Eni's lobby that befriended the Straw Hats way back when. Meanwhile, the Marines are freaking out because the legendary giant pirates are here from over 100 years ago, and the Marines stand little to no chance against them. They are definitely a force to be reckoned with, because we see that a singular random giant is capable of taking down an entire Marine ship. But now, zooming away from these giants up to the Labo phase, we see Usopp, who's actually looking at the giants from far away with his telescope. And he calls Dory and Bragi his masters because he has so much respect for them. And it's cool that Oda put the focus on Usopp here, since he's tied to the giants a lot. We learned this all the way back in Little Garden. And Usopp might have a big role in the Elbaf arc coming up for the same reasoning. And Nami and Chopper, who are standing next to Usopp, note that Oimo and Kashi are here, and they're more familiar with Oimo and Kashi because they became the friends of the Straw Hats. And now Edison then talks a little bit about how the world news is gonna consider the arrival of these giants. Edison knows that the news is gonna consider it an act of war, since the Marines have the control of the media, so the Marines are the good guys all the time. But Usopp is mad because he knows that the giants are really here to just save the Straw Hats, and they're actually the good guys. Now we cut over to the Thousand Sunny with Brook and Lilith on it. Remember, a few chapters ago, I think, Brook and Lilith were moving the ship across the clouds to get it to a spot that they could escape easily with it. But Brook now says that they can't stop it. So this is actually really bad, because if the ship falls off the clouds, they're gonna go right into the laser dome, and it's gonna completely destroy the Thousand Sunny. And Lilith is super angry at Brook for a second, but she is more level-headed, and she actually tries to solve their problem, unlike Brook, who's just drinking tea. Now, still in the Labo phase, we see another Straw Hat, Jinbei, flying through the sky because he was tasked with getting Zoro. The rest of the crew is all talking about how they're planning to leave soon, but they can't just leave without Zoro. Now, we actually cut to the fight between Zoro and Lucci, and it seems fairly even, but I'll note that Zoro looks like he's holding 2 out of the 3 swords, so he might not be at full power, while Lucci, on the other hand, is using his final awakened Zoan form, so he's probably at full power. So I think Zoro still is in the advantage. But that's all we get from that scene, unfortunately. But now we cut to the coast again, where we see the Pacifista all firing at the marine ships on their orders from Bonnie last chapter. And it's crazy because these ships are destroyed left and right from both the Pacifista on one side and the Giants on the other side. But the Vice Admiral, with a bunch of chins, who is commanding these battleships, tells them all to fire back, and we actually get this Vice Admiral's name, Vice Admiral Red King here, but that's kind of irrelevant. We see that the cannon fire from the ships actually deal some damage to the opposing Pacifista, so this could be an even match. Now, after all that I just talked about, we are back with what I would consider the main battle of Egghead, which takes place in the center of the island with the big group of Luffy, Kuma, Saturn, and everyone else. Luffy is in Gear 5, of course, and he asks Bonnie why she's crying right now, because Luffy is obviously having a good time. She tells him that she's been looking for him, the sun god Nika, this whole time, and that's where the title of the chapter comes in. But Luffy, he really doesn't know who the sun god Nika is. He uses the power of Gear 5, but he doesn't actually know anything else about it. And now Luffy shows Bonnie how it's really done, since he saw her futile attempt to stab Saint Saturn earlier. So he starts winding up his punch, and Saturn, he's gonna obviously stop Luffy, so he uses his unexplained power to knock back Luffy's head. But Luffy, unlike the rest of the crew, is really unaffected by this. He just bounces right back up and continues to wind up his punch. And then he uses a new move called Booming Dawn Gatling to deal barrage of attacks on Saint Saturn, and it does heavy damage, and the last one sends him flying through buildings once again. So this is Saturn's second time flying through a bunch of buildings. And now on the ground, Bonnie is talking to Vegapunk, who's dying on the floor, and she wants to save him, but Vegapunk kind of knows that he's gonna die. And then the pathetic puppet that is Kizaru shoots a light beam at his very own friends, Bonnie and Vegapunk. Thankfully, Sanji comes in to kick the light beam away, but the reactions by both Kizaru and Frankie to Sanji kicking away this beam of light is just priceless. It's kind of like the NL face from Skypiea. And Sanji, in typical Sanji fashion, tells everyone that love overpowers light. And now Sanji is about to 1v1 Kizaru while the rest of the good guys flee. And I'm not sure if this is going to be much of an even match. And where Saint Saturn landed now, we see that Katarina Devon and Van Augur of the Blackbeard Pirates walk up to talk to him. Devon is fascinated that Saint Saturn is down on the ground with all the humans that he hates so much, but she goes up to touch him. And we know that her nine-tailed fox fruit ability allows her to shapeshift when she touches people. So Blackbeard must be cooking up some evil plan to use Saturn's image and likeness to do something crazy. And now Devon praises Marshall D. Teach Blackbeard And then Saturn says something interesting about Blackbeard's lineage. This could just mean he's talking about the Will of D, but it could also be a confirmation that Blackbeard is the son of Rox D. Zebek, which is a popular theory in the fan base. But now, before they are leaving, since their mission is done, Van Augur claims that the Blackbeard pirates plan to take the world, and then they teleport away. They teleport elsewhere on the island, not to a different island, because Van Augur can't teleport that far. But where they land, we see none other than Caribou waiting. And Caribou, he begs the two of them to give him a chance to join the crew of his hero and idol, Blackbeard. So Caribou was collecting all this important information in the previous arcs, not because he was working for Blackbeard, but because he wanted to work for Blackbeard in the future. And people are saying that his idolizing of Blackbeard is similar to Bartolomeo's idolizing of Luffy, so maybe we have a future rivalry there between Caribou and Bartolomeo. And that's where the chapter ends though. This chapter is another crazy one, but I literally say that about all of the chapters. The arc is just so complex that there's so much going on every chapter that Oda has to cover, and there's so many characters present that I can't even keep track of it. We have the Giants wreaking havoc, the Pacifista wreaking havoc, the Blackbeard pirates doing some shady stuff now, and all of that isn't even center stage. In the main events of the arc, we have Sanji vs Kizaru now, Zoro vs Lucci, and Luffy vs Saturn, all going on at once, and all looking to be really good fights. And the rest of the crew is just trying to figure out a way to leave the island. So in conclusion, there's just so much going on. And good news is, we have no break next week, and what I personally am looking forward to see the most is what the Giants will continue to do going forward. So if you made it to the end of this video, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe because it'll help me out greatly, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.